found something buried in the woods. Dad.
This is unacceptable. Do you understand?
First off, I think there was a lot of surprise over Major Tom in the trailer. Like, how did you guys land on that tune?
We were really surprised when the Disney marketing department played it for us the first time as well.
Yeah, we had to like sit with it for a while and go like, whoa. Okay.
Like, can you do that in Star Wars?
We're exactly the same as everyone else.
But the big thing that Ford added, this wasn't my idea. When they played it for us, it was in English. And Ford said, could we do a version where we translate the lyrics to Huttese? So, like, that was our contribution.
I love it. And there's a thematical connection because in the original video, they are blasting off into space.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
So, obviously, this is the youngest Star Wars ensemble we've seen to date. How would you guys describe the energy that a young cast brings, both to the set and to the franchise at large?
It's so fun to make a show with a group of 10-year-old kids. Like, we tried to make the environment as like immersive as possible for them, by having like practical puppets and droids and animatronics and special effects and things like that. So that when the kids like walked into the set, it was like they were just truly walking into the Star Wars galaxy. And that fun and excitement that they have just is so infectious. Yeah, it was like a great set to be a part of.
It was so nice to see that because, maybe they'd be doing a really intense scene, and then when they would call cut, they would just be so happy. They'd be jumping up and down and hugging each other. They're so sweet, these kids.
Yeah.
That's got to rub off on you guys, too.
Yeah,
right?
I think it rubbed off on the whole
crew. Like, there's no way to, like, have a bad time when kids are, like, singing and dancing in between takes.
I'm always curious, like, in a case like this, do you, obviously you're looking for the best young actor for the role, first and foremost, but like, are you testing their Star Wars fandom at all?
No, and like, it didn't matter. What was great about the characters that they're playing in the show don't know anything about Star Wars really either. They only know sort of like the life they've lived on their planet. So there's no reason that the kids needed to know anything either. It's all new to them.
I mean, do you feel like you guys even had to make any significant tonal changes versus, other movies and shows in the canon? I mean, I feel like, I'm not telling you guys anything you don't know, but I feel like a lot of Star Wars fans forget that the movies have always been family friendly. Like, did you feel like you had to shift any stuff tonally?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we always approached it as though it was still a grown-up film. It just happened to star for 10-year-old kids. For us, it was always about making sure the stakes felt real and that it never swayed the other way and felt too naive or too childlike. Like, we always tried to make sure that, this could stand next to all the other Star Wars films and TV shows.
Yeah, and kind of the initial concept was that because these kids are lost, them just surviving was going to be more difficult because they're just kids than it would be, say, if Han Solo got lost in the galaxy, he could handle it. He could figure out what to do. He could steal a ship and fly it away. These kids don't even know how to start a ship. They don't know how to fly.
Yeah.
So just dealing with the reality that they're kids and taking it seriously from the get-go was our goal.
Were there any non-Star Wars movies or shows that influenced you guys? I mean, I had a hard time not thinking of 80s stuff like Goonies or 80s inspired stuff like Stranger Things when watching this.
Yeah, I mean, those 80s films are just so like formative to us. Like, those are the movies that we grew up with and sort of formed our imagination. So there's no way to sort of escape those. The more interesting inspiration, I think, was that we also went back to like old pirate movies from the 30s, in the same way that, George Lucas was like watching old World War II movies and samurai movies and using those to influence the original trilogy. Like, we wanted to go back to like pirate serials from the 30s and like Errol Flynn films, like in, like Seahawk, Captain Blood, things like that to sort of inform the pirate side of our storytelling as well.
Did you guys happen to look at the recent Ghostbusters movies to see how they introduced kids into, what had previously been an adult character-driven property?
I have seen them, and I think they did a great job. I just, I don't know that we ever consciously thought of that as a reference.
Yeah, we were always just trying to follow our own story and kind of see where it took us. Because we started with the idea that they were lost, and we would just throw obstacles at them and kind of play it through like a puzzle in our heads.
Yeah.
So
You guys are taking some mega franchises off the bucket list. What's the biggest difference between working in the Marvel Spider-Verse and making Star Wars?
I mean, Peter Parker is an established character. They've made movies about Spider-Man before, and there's a whole encyclopedia of comics about Spider-Man. This is a galaxy that we know, but all of our characters were original. So in a way, it felt like kind of the complete opposite.
And then finally, I would love, to hear from each of you, like what has been your most surreal moment getting to work in the Star Wars universe?
I always say that it's when we got to go to Phil Tippett's studios and watch them do stop motion animation for one of our creatures. Like, he's such an idol, and I'm a huge fan of stop motion animation. So to be able to really do that and to like connect with such a legend was an honor for me.
Yeah, mine's kind of similar. It was just actually not just meeting, but working with these people who I had seen in interviews
Yeah.
and documentaries about Star Wars, and I'm walking around with them, and that they're all super nice.
Yeah.
It's not only we're working with Doug Chiang. Doug Chiang is giving me a hug on the set.
Yeah, I was always struck by John Knoll, who was
Yeah.
also our VFX supervisor, who we were like working with daily.
And how cool it was on where we were shooting this at the same time as they were finishing Ahsoka, and it was like this little mini Star Wars only Hollywood, where you'd be walking around by catering and Thrawn would walk past.
Yeah.
You'd be like, what?
Yeah, it felt surreal, honestly.